A lot of us have spent some time on the phone with this next guy. The CAP program was developed to provide experts in various energy markets to help independent brokers close and maintain your energy business. Over the past 5.5 years, the CAP team has closed an incredible amount of business, helped you do it, giving independent brokers the competitive advantage you need to be successful. Cameron Beadle. Anybody ever heard of Cameron Beadle? Cameron's been working for CCM for over 4 years, and beginning in January of this year, he saw the light and moved from Toodly-Doo to Columbus. To join IGS, he works exclusively with CCM now as a member of the Commercial Assistance Program. Thus far, Cameron has assisted his brokers in securing, now listen to this, 94 million kilowatt hours of electricity and over 165,000 decatherms of natural gas. That's a lot. That's this year. That's this year. There's a lot of money to be made in this. Cameron has a bachelor's degree in business administration from Indiana Wesleyan University and currently resides in Dublin, Ohio with his wife Larissa and his 2 children Delilah and Titus. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Cap, Cameron Beadle.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it's really good to be here today. See a lot of people I've worked with. In fact, anyone who has submitted a commercial lead, why don't you go ahead and raise your hand here? Wow, that's a really good chunk of the crowd. So that pleases me because that's what I do every day. I'm going to start off with a story I recently heard. There was 2 shoe salesmen from a large U.S. manufacturer that was sent over to Africa to open up new markets. So they went over there. The first guy, it only took him 2 days to figure out what was going on. He called back the office and he says, "I don't know what you want me to do here. I can't sell shoes. Everyone goes barefoot." At the same time he did that, his partner who was with him emailed the home office and says, "Hey, prospects are unlimited. Nobody has shoes here." So what I wanted to talk about is kind of perspective on what's going on right now in the energy markets. Just to open up a little bit, we heard a speech just on Tuesday from Doug Austin. He's the Vice President of Sales at IGS. He has seen an opportunity like we had after this winter only about 3 times, and he's been doing this 23 years. This winter, prices went crazy. We saw suppliers charging $16 an MCF, saw them charging 15 cents per kilowatt hour. There is opportunity out there. Companies went out of business. Suppliers went out of business. Right now, one of our largest competitors has been telling their customers not to renew with them because their prices are too high and they can't compete. That doesn't happen very often. So I think it's really important we go over the initial steps onto what to do with your commercial lead, what the process in-house is. So we're going to move ahead here. We're going to start with what you can expect from your CAP agent. Then we'll move into what we want from you guys to foster that relationship. What are some typical questions you'll run into, and what kind of businesses you should target? What you can expect from us. We want to take over the lead once you submit it to us and close the deal on your behalf. With our pricing, we're going to offer them customized pricing, terms specific to their business based on their load. So we're not just going to offer them a standard rate like a lot of other companies do. We actually pull their data with the letter of authorization, which you'll see us talk about later. And then we're also going to provide them with a subscription to the market commentary. On that, it actually provides a weekly update onto where electricity and gas storage are going. It's very important, and we don't expect customers to read the whole thing every day, but we do want to show them when there's good buying opportunities. We also, at IGS, have a whole renewal team. It's actually calling on the CCM current accounts and renewing them on your behalf. So you don't have to do that. They're actually in charge. There's actually, I think, 8 of them, and all they do is renew the commercial deals on your behalf. What do we expect from you guys? The main thing I want, Andy wants, Kayla wants, Eric and Nick want back at CCM is we want a relationship. When we call that customer on your behalf, we want them to know who we are and why we're calling. We want to know that the next step in the process is for them to talk with us. We're going to have the conversation about contracts. We're going to have the conversation about the pricing. But we want to know if they have a current contract. Do we need to start it in September? Do we need to start it next April? We also want you to get that copy of their bill, as you all have been trained to do. We want you to scan that back into us. We want you to have them sign the LOA, the letter of authorization. If you don't know what that is, find me afterwards. We can talk about it a little more. It's pretty easy. We also want to connect to the decision maker. We find we have a lot more success if we're able to talk to the person who's paying the money and whose money it is. When there's a disconnect there, the decision obviously takes longer, and the person recommending it might not have any skin in the game, so it might not matter as much to them. With that, we want you to submit a lead in your back office, and then obviously send in the bill copies along that same time. You can scan an email, you can fax them, or as someone did today, you can hand them to me in person. John, that's you. So that's how we'll do it. We'll move on here. Some questions you might run into. A lot of you raised your hands. You've done this before. You're experienced. You know what you're doing. What will change? Not much. There's still going to be a customer of the local utility. Local utility will always provide, be the supplier of last resort. So they're going to be delivering the gas and/or electricity. As far as billing, in almost all markets that IGS is in, we're in utility consolidated billing, which our competitors can't say, meaning that on your AEP or your Columbia gas bill, the charges are going to appear right on there, and you pay the local utility just as normal. So there's really not going to be any billing changes for their accounting department. What will change is you'll see your rate listed right on your bill. You sign a fixed rate for 12 months. You'll see that listed every month on your bill, multiplied by your monthly usage. You'll have your total, and again, you just pay that bill as normal. What if the supplier can't get power? What if there's an emergency? What happens? Well, number one, if your power does go out, you call the local utility. You're still paying them the delivery fee and the service fee to service you as a normal customer. Some of businesses' largest worries are, well, will they service me in the same way if I'm purchasing from someone else? Absolutely. The Public Utility Commission states that they have to, and actually the guys who come and service your line, they don't know if your supplier is IGS, AEP, or Columbia Gas. They just know that you're their customer, and they're coming out to read your meter and repair those lines. What happens if a customer wants to sell their property, or what happens if they're using more or less energy than last year? Those are two questions we run into a lot with commercial businesses. The customer wants to sell their business. It's very common that someone would ask that just in preparation, and we just ask that we would know ahead of time so we could transfer the agreement to the new owner. Typically, if you're going to sign a 3-year agreement, you most likely know if you're going to own that business for 3 more years, but there's always the what if. So you can actually transfer the agreement to the new owner, and IGS wants to be involved in that, obviously. What happens if you use more or less than last year? That's actually pretty common. We don't have required volumes. We have what's called 100% swing or full requirements, meaning that it covers if you use less or more than you did last year. So that's really not an issue for the contracts we sign. I've seen a lot of competition out there requiring you to use within 10% or 25% of your usage last year. Well, obviously with this winter, not every winter is going to be the same as that, so it's a really risky thing to get into. Does the local utility mind? No, we kind of already discussed that a little bit. They don't mind. They're still servicing you as a customer. They're delivering the gas and/or electricity, and by state law, that's actually how they make their profit. So they don't make their profit on the supply portion of your bill. That's a pass-through cost for them. So that's why you see a lot of high rates from local utilities. They don't have to buy it competitively. They just have to generate it and/or buy it at cost and pass it along to you. So they don't have a vested interest in that. And then again, if you smell gas or if you have an outage, you're going to call your local utility just as normal. I think everyone knows that who's in this room, but a lot of your customers won't know that until you visit with them. Prospecting customers, I did want to touch on this. Obviously, if you've done it before, you know who to target. But the first place I want you to start is, who do you know? A person you have a relationship with is probably going to be one of the best places to start. They already know who you are, It's not a cold lead. Even if it is, we want you to make that relationship warm. We want you to go to people who have seen you in their place of business before and gather their invoices. Okay, that's great, but you only know so many people, so where should you go next? The next best customer is a constant user. So when I say that, I mean someone who is a manufacturer, a restaurant open long hours, people who are using energy around the clock. Typically, these customers will have a better load than someone who is just using during peak times of the day. And when we customize pricing, it takes actually into account their load factor and how they're using the gas and or electricity. If you're using it constantly, that's seen as more favorable, because when my supply department goes out and buys the power or gas, they can actually buy a contract evenly across 12 months instead of going out and buying just for, let's say, 4 months of winter. So that's someone I would pursue personally. There's some recommendations up there on natural gas. See restaurants for cooking. If they're cooking with gas, it's very good. Property managers, if they're heating large spaces, large churches such as this. Anyone get me the bill here yet? No? All right, someone get it. Manufacturers, laundromats, dry cleaners are using gas constantly, obviously in their dryers, and then also they usually have pretty good electricity loads. I know there's people in this room that have brought me cleaners. So, funeral homes, it's a little morbid, but if they have a crematory, we've also been working on some of those with you guys, but they use a lot of gas and they use it constantly, so that's a really good customer to go after. Restaurants for electricity, they usually have a lot of electric cooktops, things like that. Gas stations with their coolers are usually using energy around the clock as well. Apartments manufactured for the same reason as gas, if they're constantly using it. Sports complexes that are heated, grocery stores, especially with their coolers and refrigeration. You want to go to the local IGAs, the ones where you can talk to the business owners there. The last is hotels. You'll find that a lot of hotels have a lot larger electricity bills than gas bills, and that's because a lot of their rooms have their own, heating and cooling, but it's all electric run, it's not gas run. So they're heating with gas just in the common spaces. So I think that's important to point out that these are specific based on the type of energy they're using at their peak. And again, we'll move on here, I'm done. But I just want to thank you guys for the time. Find me afterwards, and again, this opportunity right now, other suppliers are giving away business. So if you find someone at a current contract, find out how long they have left, and let's bid on that renewal term. Thank you very much.